Today's big idea is bigger than this tree that splits up the road. Today's big idea is that God died on the cross. Now, he died on the cross for... Wait, let me just do an easy way to do this. Let's show you. This is the person who tells about God. Hey, yo, let me tell you a story. Well, God was born on earth as a teeny tiny baby. Well, not a teeny tiny baby. Just a normal baby. Like, he was a normal sized baby. Okay. But still, once he became like 40, but basically his entire life, he was teaching people about God. Also, let me just say two of his miracles. One of them was where he turned water into wine. Well, we don't really drink wine anymore, but still, they used to drink wine back in the olden days, like thousands and billions of years ago, but still. And he also had this boy. He had his lunch, and people were starving. And he takes 2 fish and 5 bread and turns them into a bunch of buckets of fish and bread. They could eat and eat. And there's still baskets of leftovers. But let's get to the main idea. Jesus died on the cross. He died on the cross for our sins. Now, have you guys ever sinned? I'm guessing you guys have. You have to. We're not perfect. But still, God died on the cross for our sins. So when we sin, we don't die. So he kind of died on the cross. And then guess what happened after he died? He rose again. He literally defeated death. How is that possible? But before he actually rose from the cross, he was only on the cross for 1 day. Then his disciples put him in a tomb. And then 2 days later, a person looks in the tomb.
3 days.
Well, 3 days after, Mary looks in the tomb. Or, well, at least a person looks in the tomb. And the door has opened. Nobody's in there. And angels say, God has risen. He's not here. And also, one time, after God has died, well, 2 of his disciples are walking down the street. Suddenly, this man has appeared. Well, it was actually Jesus, but they didn't know. So Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about?" And they were surprised. And they said, "Haven't you heard the biggest news in town?" Well, and they chatted until it was dinner time, and they realized that it was God, because they're like, "Oh, it's God!" But he disappeared. Everybody locked their doors because they thought Jesus didn't exist anymore, so he couldn't. And then, randomly, how the doors are locked and the windows are locked, he shows up. But they think it's just a ghost or something. But then you look at his hands and there's blood holes in his hands. Yes, they stabbed nails that big into his hands and his feet, but it was only 1 nail crossed. But still, he does miracles, and he died on the cross for our sins because he loves us so much, more than your parents do, more than your grandma does. Like, seriously, even if you make a single sin, they still love you. Okay. Whoa, the video is done. Okay, hi. Well, that's why Jesus got on the cross, basically. But he did a lot more miracles. A lot more. But let's go back to that 2 fish and 5 bread. Well, it would have been silly if there was like a grocery store right next to that. But they're on a giant hill. Like, there wouldn't be a grocery store right there. Plus, grocery stores don't exist. But it would be pretty funny if they're like, "Hey, there's a grocery store. Let's buy some food. I want this. I want that. I want this. I also want that." No, that grocery stores didn't exist. Only homes did. But they're not as fancy as homes now. Like the world has changed. But trees have never changed yet. But still, God let's say also this. God created grass. He also created this tree. He also created roses. He also created dirt. He created the entire universe with just words. Now, at first, there was only darkness. But then God said, let there be light. And light appeared. And then he said, let there be water and sky. Well, there was water, which is the ocean, and sky, which is clouds. And he said, let there be sea creatures. Well, he did name them, because that's what Adam and Eve did. But he said, let there be sea creatures. And there are sea creatures. He said, let there be land animals. There are land animals. And then he created humans from the sand. Well, he created Adam from some dust. And he named all of the animals. But not in English. But still, so what? And then God put Adam to sleep. And then what happened is God took Adam's ribs out and made Eve. I don't think that was painful. He was in sleep. He couldn't even feel anything. But still, and then Eve, and then they became best friends. And then they made more humans and more humans. And then that person made more humans. And that's how humans exist today. But that's pretty much a lot about God. Now, if you want to learn more about God, read it in the Bible or watch more of these videos. Thank you for watching. Bye.